Currently, I feel like it's more competitive than ever. I want to address that at the top. Like, it is hard out there. I'm not saying it's easy, but the competition is fierce. And I feel like right now you can make social media work for you, whether that's YouTube, whether that's podcasts. Well, podcasts, is it social media? Whatever. I don't know. But like Instagram, TikTok, Shorts, whatever you want to, Twitter, Threads, it's competitive and you can make it work for you. But I think my philosophy is like you have to put in work for it to work for you. We're no longer in the days of like you just happen to get a good picture and post it and it's gonna go off. Like that's not the game we're really in anymore, unless you're like a celebrity, right? Sure. Like Kylie Jenner can post a pic of her sandwich and it's gonna blow up, but for most people that's not the case. So I feel like it's more competitive than ever, and I feel like the skills, everyone's like developing their skills really rapidly. So now it's also like a skill competition. Yep. But I would say it always kind of was, right? Like when Instagram first popped off, like if you were good at photography, you had an advantage. Yeah. If you were an artist, you had an advantage because you can make really captivating images. Yep. And now if you're good at video, you have an advantage. And that's just like the evolution of social media. And so that's where I think we're at. Competitive and fierce.
How do you feel a certain way about that? Would you wish it the old days, or does that make you not want to compete, or how do you feel about like being here?
I feel like I'm at peace. Okay. But this is because I spent years working in social media where it's like you just have to accept that this is the landscape that we're in, and you're just adapting constantly. And the same applies when you're a freelancer. Like you have to adapt if you're gonna care about social media, right? If you're gonna give it value, and have it like have it be something you care about, then you're gonna have to put in that effort. In the same way that a lot of these companies, and when I worked at the companies, we had to put in effort to get the numbers that I wanted to show my boss. Like it's a job. And I think because I did the job, I'm aware of it and I accept that it is a job. It's not something that just like is a little hobby you can just do on the side and be great at, right? Like if you're going to be great at it, it's a job. And I'm okay with that. I'm at peace with that because it literally was my job. But I know that a lot of creatives don't feel the same way. And I feel for those people, those creatives that like maybe are, really disappointed in social media. But I would just say like, for me, it's like if you're going to let the results of social media influence your feelings and emotions, then maybe you should put in the effort to get what you want out of it. Fair. Or put it aside. Just be like, I am not going to let these numbers affect me. I'm going to post whatever I want to post, and the likes aren't going to affect me. Because I'm just doing it on the side. I'm just doing it like it's not a big priority for me. So then don't let it impact you like tenfold. But yeah, I just feel like you get in what you put out. And for me, I'm okay with that. But it is a lot of effort to keep up with. Like I do acknowledge that. But you don't have to keep up with it is what I'm saying. Like you can choose to do other things if you want. Yeah,
you're basically saying you can choose to play the game or not play the game. If you don't want to participate, then that's
but
fine.
I think a lot of artists think it shouldn't be a game. Like it should be a given. Like you post and everyone should see it. Yeah. And I'm like, I don't know, man. Like, it kind of never was that way. Yeah. It just happened to work for you before and no longer, right? Like, Flickr was the same way. And then everyone left Flickr for Tumblr. Because people are like, why can't we have the old Instagram? And I'm like, in my head, right? As someone who worked in social media, the old Instagram would not work anymore. All of us would be on TikTok. All of us would have ditched it because it would be just like starting to flatline. For sure. So that's why these platforms have to keep evolving to keep attention, which is what you want for yourself, for your work. So it's like,
and as a consumer, they want to be like be entertained.
You want to be entertained. Yeah. You want the input. So yeah, I just feel like I fully acknowledge that it's like a game. It's capitalism, right? For sure. It is. So that's kind of where I stand with it. I know it sours a lot of people's vibes, but I kind of just see it as clarity. Like if you want to play the game, learn it. There's going to be a learning curve, like with anything, but you can do it. Or if you're just like, I hate this game, then just don't play. Go do something else.
I love that. I love that take. Because I feel like I've been around a lot of creatives they're kind of, maybe they're burnt out, or maybe they're just unsure of how to be seen. Like, because there's a piece of it where they're like, I've been trying a very long time and I haven't been seen like the way I want to be seen. And I'm like, I get that. It is a really tough game. And you're right. There's a lot of time that goes into, I can tell by your feed. I was going through it yesterday. I was like, this girl puts in the work. Like,
dude, I am like, people are like, oh, your Instagram's so nice, or your videos are so nice. I'm like, yeah. And it's not like that without effort. Yeah. Like, thank you for acknowledging that. But also, like, I put in hours, and like, unfortunately, like, fortunately for me, I like doing it. Sure. So I have that advantage, right? But I also think it's something that can be learned. Like, I didn't always like to make videos. I got better at it the more I did it, the more I started to like tweak what I'm doing and refine my process, like any other creative process.
Yeah. And that's to the point, like, I watch a lot of YouTube, and I will watch a video and I'm like, dang, that's really cool that they can go and put these things together. From the writing to what they cover, to the ending of it, to what it looks like, to how it sounds. Like, I think that's really cool. And it is a piece of, like, you do get to be creative in your own way with a lot of this stuff. So it's like, why not take another avenue to be creative that is also very popular right now and gets you more seen?
Right.
And you get to use, and the other big thing for me is, like, I get to use my voice now. Like, before I was just making pictures, and like, yes, they might have something that you could interpret, but now I can tell you, and you can see my face, and I can tell you exactly. So
I 100% feel that. And I feel like a huge example is YouTube, right? Yeah. Like, a video that's like whatever takes so much effort. And then you start seeing people who are doing like killer videos, and you're like, oh my gosh, that's like 5 times the amount of effort I put into my raggedy video. Yeah. And then you're like, you want to do better, and you want to make it better, and you can see your vision. Yep. And I think that's all, like, same to you. I love using my voice. I don't love being on camera, but I do find it like somewhat easier as time has gone by. And like, there's just a lot of things that you can do that maybe with a picture would take you longer.
Yeah.
Or to get it just right, But I love your intro sequence. I think it's so cool. And I was looking at that and I was like, dang, that's sick. Like, but I can see the effort that goes into it. And I'm just like, I feel like people think that there's no effort, and certain people are just getting picked to go to like have a really explosive reel or really explosive YouTube video. And I'm like, no, there's a ton of effort being put into that you could also maybe learn to do if you want.
But you won't know it tomorrow. It's gonna be your 1000th post. Like,
exactly. That's my whole point, is like, how long have you been putting in effort? Not just like posts and stuff. Dang. But like really considering what you're posting. Because I've done that. I did that for 5 years in-house at a brand, like really thinking about every single post. So that's why for me, doing it for myself, it feels natural. But I think for a lot of people, it feels like overkill.
For sure. And this is another piece that I think I've talked to some of my friends, and they're worried about. They're worried about this future where, like, you need to have a platform and a personal brand to even get hired, like, to get a job. And I'm like, I understand that fear, but if you know that might be a possibility, why wouldn't you work towards remedying it, like getting ahead of it?
Right.
Like,
if that's your concern, then maybe put it on your list of to-dos.
Yeah.
But that's a hard reality for people to swallow, you know?
Is.
Like, I totally get that. It is a fear of mine that you need a brand, especially as we move towards like a world with AI. Yep. Like, what's going to differentiate you from AI? Having a really strong brand that people are like, oh, I could outsource to AI, but it's different if it comes from this specific person. And a good way to build a really good brand is to do it online. Yep. I'm sure you could do it other ways. I don't know what that would be. Like, I don't specifically know how you would do that, but like a good way is to do it online by kind of putting your stamp on your content and having like a strong point of view. And exactly. It's like, maybe that's what you have to do if you care about that avenue.
Yeah, I agree. Do you have any tips for people who are having a hard, since you come from that professional world, do you have any tips for people just to make better content online?
Yes, I have some tips.
Okay,
I would say like something that I encounter a lot is people are like, man, no one is seeing my posts. And I'm like, okay, yes, that sucks. Totally, that sucks. How many times have you posted in the last month? Because a lot of the times, those people have posted like 4 times in the last month. And then the month prior, 4 times. You know, they're posting very, very infrequently. Mm-hmm. And I'm not saying that posting more is going to guarantee tons of likes or views, but your odds are just better, right? Sure. Like just from an odds point of view, it's better. But also you don't have a benchmark of performance. Like you don't know if your average post does 200 likes because you have 4 posts. You're telling me if you average 4 posts, that's not a strong average. You know, that's like a really small data pool. And if the last year you've posted 12 posts or 20, like that's still a really small set of data. So my first thing is like post more, worry about just posting stuff, get enough posts to have a real data set to be like, okay, my average amount of likes is this, my average amount of views is this. And if I do better than that on my next post, I had a killer post. Because now you can really point blank be like, that was a good post and that was a bad post in terms of whatever metric you care about. But like just going based on feeling, like, yeah, I don't like getting 100 likes on a post. I don't like it. Yeah. But if my last posts have all gotten 50 likes, this 100 likes is great. Really good. You're up by a lot. So like, I feel like sometimes just looking at the numbers and being less emotion based and more just like data based kind of can separate you from the performance of the post and separate you from like the artwork a little bit and just be like, was this a good post? Like the art could be amazing. It just might not be a good post for Instagram. For sure. That's the reality of the situation. And that's okay. You can see that based on the numbers and try and post it in a different way next time and see if that does better in one way or another. So I would say like, yeah, a lot of people, you need a good benchmark before you can start judging yourself. And you're not going to get that until you post a lot more. For sure.
I love that. 2 things. One of them, wait, before I forget, I think I forgot the second thing. First thing, I always try to explain it as it's like billboards on the highway is like, if you see a billboard once, maybe at the beginning of your trip, you're probably not going to remember that thing. But if you saw that billboard 5-6 times, there's more likely a chance that people are going to see that and remember it. So you have to think about your content kind of in that way. Oh, and this is the other thing. And it's like, I feel like the way that you're describing that is kind of using the data that, because we all get on social media. Social media is free for a reason, and it's because they're collecting our data. But it feels like in that way that you're describing, you're taking back control of the data because you're creating your own data points and being able to kind of monitor how these pieces are going. So I think that's really a really
exactly,
cool
and it keeps it less like okay, don't take it too personal. Let's look at the numbers. It's like looking at your bank account. Yeah. Like it's just the facts are the facts. Like you can work on this or you can ignore it. Like I don't know, it's up to you. But I feel like if you go, for example, for Instagram, if you go to Meta, like if you go to facebook.com on a desktop, you can look at your Instagram account if it's connected, which it most likely is. You can pull like a 90-day pull of your metrics. So you can say like, give me all my likes, my views, my follower count for the last 90 days. And you can do a quick, average. There are platforms that do this for you, but most of the time you have to pay like some sort of fee. You can do this yourself on a little spreadsheet on Google Drive and pull your averages, your median, kind of your max and your min, so you can get a better understanding the next month of where you are. And that's honestly what I used to do when I worked in an office. It was like, look, boss, like these numbers are up. Good job. Let's feel good. Yeah. And then if a number was down, you think about, why is that number down? Sure. Could it have been 4th of July that I posted that and no one's going to interact? Could it have been like, sometimes it is like, an algorithm change. For sure. You can say that and then just take the pressure off and see if you can get a handle back on it the next month. Yeah. But like, I think, yeah, like you said, it keeps you looking at it straight and less like emotional.
Yeah.
So you can better iterate every month, and you're not going to go from like, 50 likes to 10,000 likes the next month. That's not realistic. And I feel like that's what people want. They want their reach to go from 500 to everyone that follows them. And I'm like, come on, that's just no one's doing that. Like no one in here is doing that at all. So we got to be realistic based on the numbers, based on your track record. Yeah.
I love that. That was a nice little segment there. I love that.
You got to get, I feel like people are too in their feelings. They're too like, my artwork is good. Why didn't no one see it? And I'm like, put the artwork aside. Let's look at this post. Like,
and not gonna lie,
it's not the same. It's not the same.
You're talking to me right now. I can have those moments, especially, I don't know. Being an artist, it is hard to be judged and it's hard to be viewed.
It is hard.
And it's hard to, posting anything or showing up for anything is vulnerable. And it's something that other people don't do. And that's for a reason. They can't get there, but we can get there. And maybe it's like, we take and put that vulnerability. I mean, you're still being vulnerable putting it out there, but we take and put that emotion somewhere else if we're trying to get to a goal. So.
Right, exactly. And it's like, obviously, for example, if I post like a painting that I made that has like almost no like strong hook, let's say, or like a lot of context or story, it's just like, hey, this is just a painting I made. My expectations for that post are kind of low. Yeah. Like, you know what? I'm just happy whoever sees it. And maybe a client will reference this post in the future if they want something in this style. And that's the goal of that post. The goal of that post is not hundreds of comments. For sure. Or like thousands of reshares. That would be very, very
It would be
unexpected.
Weird. It would actually be weird.
It would be odd. You'd be like, wow, that's crazy. And then most of the time I'm like, look at the thing that the last thing that popped off on your account probably was like a quote that said like something sort of inspiring or relatable, because it's social media and that's the game we're in. We're not in a gallery.
No.
That's a different game, So I feel like if you just keep perspective and like, you can't critique your artwork for the performance of your social media. Those are just two different things.
Dang. Hey, that was great.
And people don't like it, but
I mean,
I think it's better this way. I'm trying to tell you this is better. Yeah.
It's the truth. You can be objective. There's no being subjective here. These are the objective facts, and I love that.
Yeah, and just keep it straight. Two separate things I think should make you feel better, because don't let the performance of your Instagram or your YouTube channel affect like be like how good of a creative you are.
It doesn't.
That's not the right. That they're not tit for tat.